Hey, everybody. Before we jump into today's episode, we have a really quick announcement for all of you. Christmas came early here and gave us a tremendous gift at Midlife Circus for all of us at Midlife Circus. Apple has decided to feature our podcast, Midlife Circus, in their new shows section. To tell you how this is determined, Apple looks at a couple of different things. One is there's an algorithm that decides what shows they want to feature. It includes how many downloads do they have, what does listener data look like, how long do people listen to episodes. But for me, the most important thing Apple does is they actually have editorial insight into the episodes and to the show. So there's a team of people at Apple that get together and actually look at the show, and they look at the show's content. They look at the relevance, uniqueness, and the production quality to determine if it is of a standard that Apple would want to feature. And we got on that list. I got to tell you, it's so cool. Hundreds of thousands of podcasts launch every year, and only a small handful ever get featured. We couldn't be more elated that we're part of the list. Golden Globes are now going to have podcasts as one of the award categories. And I don't know about you, Brent. For me, this is kind of like a mini Golden Globe moment.
Whoop, whoop. I mean, I'm so excited for this. I mean, it is a true gift that we have been given. So thank you to the Apple Podcast team, first and foremost. And more importantly, thank you to our listeners because you made this happen for us. But I want to share a little bit of data from the Apple Podcast ecosystem that shows the impact on the Midlife Circus podcast. So our daily listeners are now up more than 1,000%.
1,000%?
1,000% since launching on new and noteworthy on Apple Podcasts, which is incredible. Our followers that regularly tune into the Midlife Circus podcast have grown over 500%. And somehow these conversations that you and I are having are now reaching listeners in over 55 countries worldwide.
That's crazy.
It's unbelievable. And all we can say is thank you to our listeners because really you're the ones who made this happen for us. Thank you to Apple Podcasts. This validates a lot of the work that we're doing and we're on to something special. So thank you again for being a part of the journey with us. And let's jump into today's show.
Remember when Christmas morning felt like pure magic? When the wrapping paper flew, the food never ended, and your family's weirdest traditions somehow made sense? In this holiday special of Midlife Circus, Brent and Rob unwrap their favorite rituals, past and present, from chaotic kid memories to grown-up traditions that still make the season shine. It's warm, funny, and a little nostalgic, the perfect listen for the holidays. Before we begin, remember to follow Midlife Circus on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe on Substack to stay up to date with everything happening under the tent. Let's step into holiday traditions.
Welcome to the Midlife Circus. Buckle up, we're flipping the script. Cue the drums, hear the crowds cheer. Your next great act starts right here.
Oh, there he is. Happy holidays, Rob.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, buddy.
Hey, before we jump in today, we're going to talk a lot about Christmas. We're going to talk about the traditions that are associated with Christmas and how nostalgia can be grounding. Before we dive in, I just have to give the spoiler alert. We're going to talk about Santa. With that being said, are you ready for this, Rob?
I dressed for the part, man. Come on. I did more than just put on the hat. I got ready for this thing.
You are ready to roll.
You want to explain for the listeners what I'm wearing? Because Brent has on a Santa hat.
I've got a Santa hat and I've got a t-shirt that says "Make It Rain" with a little bit of fun behind it. You know, that's the Grinch with a red flannel. And Rob, you have, talk about your blazer that you are wearing right now.
You want to describe it? It actually is a full-on suit that I have with matching pants. The pants don't quite fit right now, so I'm not wearing the pants.
Too much holiday cheer for you.
But it is bright red with snowmen and Christmas trees. I bought this at Macy's, it must have been 5 years ago, and wore it for the holidays when I was working, and just to make people laugh. And it is the most obnoxious color red I've ever seen.
I think it's amazing. Well done. Happy holidays. So to kick things off, I have a really important question because I've never asked this to you before. So when you were a kid, did you stay up all night trying to catch Santa, or were you one of those that were a non-believer by age 6?
I was the kid that sat up waiting for Santa. I was a
Woot
believer
woot.
for a long time. I had to be the believer for a long time as the older brother. So yes, wait up, try and catch Santa. And then it pivoted to, once I put two and two together, realized the reality of a Santa Claus. Because I was the oldest, I got to help my parents participate in creating that environment for all my siblings. So it was ring the doorbell because Santa's dropping off pajamas while my little sisters are taking a shower. I got to help participate with the Santa deal. And as long as I acted like a believer, I got presents as a believer. So that's actually, it was a little bit more selfish for me to keep believing in Santa, or at least demonstrating I believed in Santa, because Santa kept delivering when I believed in him. What about you?
I'm still a believer today.
Yeah?
Like, it's so fun for me. I was the youngest of 3. I remember when I was really young, we'd go to church and do some sort of celebration at church. And then on the drive home, I'd just be looking out into the sky and I'd be like, is that Santa? Is that Santa? Is that Santa? And my parents, no, but keep looking. And I would be the one that would stay up forever and I want to hear them. I want to believe. And to this day, it's still something so fun to me to look back at that stage in my life and just know how much it meant to me to be looking. And, you'd see a shooting star every once in a while. You're like, oh, that's definitely Santa and his
That's him.
sleigh. So I loved it. And I encourage my kids to always be believers. I don't know if that's working very well because they're now 20 and 17. But I
Does
think I'm the
Santa still
believer.
deliver presents under the tree for your boys?
Oh, absolutely.
Nice.
You bet.
Nice.
When you're thinking back when you were a kid, how about some of your earliest or funniest holiday memories from, let's say, ages 8 to 12?
The family tradition at that time that I go back and remember probably the most fondly, and then the funniest thing, is my parents refused to buy Christmas trees. They wouldn't buy them, and they wouldn't go cut them down. What my mom and dad did was they waited until Christmas Eve, and then we would drive around to Christmas tree lots and get, in air quotes, free trees, because nobody else is going to get a tree on Christmas Eve except for us. And so we'd drive around. My mom would go out, get out of the car, pick out a tree for my dad to throw into the van, inside the van, because we didn't tie it up on the roof. So it was thrown into the van. Then they drive to the next Christmas tree lot, and it was always bigger, better. Oh, is there a bigger and better tree at the next lot for my parents to grab and throw into the car? And we'd finish the night by picking up pizza and going home and decorating the tree. And then fast forward till I was a teenager, we moved to New York City, and my parents tried to continue the same tradition. And we went to the Christmas tree lots, but they were empty. There was like not a tree to be found. And so they ended up having to buy one at the second year we lived in New York City. But that first year, I think it was a sewer tree is what I would call it. It was in a ditch on the side of the road next to the curb, had water all over it. We had to carry it home. It wasn't the best tree ever, but it was the funniest memory of, well, my parents realized that year is that they needed to start buying a tree in advance. After I graduated from high school, I don't know what the tradition changed to for my siblings. Now my parents go and cut down a Griswold tree out in the woods every year. Is their new thing.
That is so fun, though. I mean, it was a family tradition.
It was.
We've talked in previous episodes that money sometimes was tight in your household. Yep. So your parents actually made it fun and made it an experience for everybody with the pizza and getting out, finding the tree. It backfired one year. So
1 year backfired.
Welcome to Manhattan, right? That's a
right.
little bit different of a story in Manhattan versus, rural Oregon. My parents, from a tradition standpoint, my dad owned a business where we grew up, and he used to have a really big Christmas party, and he always had these obnoxious outfits, and he wore them every year to the Christmas party. And I actually loved going to it, but it was just his time to shine, and he just loved it. And so
my suit is representative of what your dad would do.
Yeah, it'll
Christmas.
flashback. Yeah. But it was super fun just because that was something that happened in kind of the earlier part of December, and that really would kick off the routines that we would go through as a family and all the things of family gatherings. And Christmas for us when we were a little kid was a pretty big deal. And my parents made the best of it.
Yeah, I love it so much. I actually did not continue the Christmas tradition with my parents getting the tree. I put the tree up like right after Thanksgiving, as quick as possible, so that season can last as long as possible.
Absolutely. Our family tradition is doing it right around Thanksgiving is when we put up the tree, and then we'll let it last till about New Year's. And it's super fun. How about any unique, you talked about a bit of a tradition that your family had. Any other thing that was weird or different that maybe you guys did as a family, or even to this day that stuck around?
So each year, I would say some of the traditions that we do are our own. So we created our own traditions, but then we're also really flexible. So we can travel and go see family for the holiday. Sometimes we're with friends for the holiday. We don't have a set thing that we do every single year. We try to do on Christmas Eve, bake lasagna. So I think I have a really good lasagna recipe. And so we make that now for home. For Christmas Eve is maybe the big thing that we do. We do the movie marathon around Christmas Eve as well. So we start at Thanksgiving watching Elf on the day after, or either the day of or the day after Thanksgiving. And it ends with Christmas Vacation on Christmas Eve, typically, if we're at home. And if we're traveling, we'll try and catch them on a plane or something like that. But not a lot of the traditions stuck around with us going forward, with the exception of, I would say, a Christmas ornament every year. That's something that my parents started back when I was a baby. So I have an ornament that actually says 1976. So it would have been my second actually Christmas, but it's an old Disney elf. I don't know which elf it is, or actually a dwarf, excuse me. It's one of the old Disney dwarfs, and it has 1976 written on the dwarf in a felt pen. It's one of my favorite ornaments to pull out and put on the tree. And then every year, Tara and I get a new ornament that's representative of the things that we did that year that excited us. So this year, it'll actually be a narrowboat. We have a narrowboat ornament from our trip we did into Wales and England earlier this year. And so we try and commemorate our adventures or something that we accomplished for the year with an ornament for that year. So each year we pull those out to put them on the tree. It reminds us of a great thing we did at some point in time.
Do you have some of those ornaments from when you were a kid? Or
I have all of them.
with your mom?
Yeah,
So you do? Very
cool.
Cool.
When I got married, I showed up in a box for our first Christmas as a new couple. I got the box of all of them. Now, a couple of them are missing. I think some of them broke. So I don't have all of them, but I do have most of them as a kid. And then still my parents every year do give us an ornament.
That is so cool. I love that. It's probably fun for you to go back. My mom did the same thing. She gave me some of the ornaments that I maybe made in school, but I love seeing the ones of my kids when they were young because it's just super fun to see what they created. They have the same memories that I do around some of the creation of ornaments. So it's cool that you guys carry that tradition on. That's fun.
We keep doing that one. Yeah. What about you? What traditions do you have or weird things that you do with your kids now that remind you of what you did when you were a kid around Christmas?
Well, one thing that I don't do now, but I remember very distinctly as a kid, my parents and my grandparents bought a little teeny condo on the island of Maui. And then my uncle bought a condo in the same complex. So I remember starting pretty young, maybe like 6 or 8 years old. We would go to Hawaii every year for Christmas for the 2 weeks. I mean, for my mom, Hawaii was her ultimate place. Like that was her happy place on the planet. So that was something that we always did. What was fun, and from a tradition standpoint, is we would always have Christmas a week before Christmas. And the conversation in the household was, we called Santa. He's coming early this year, guys. We somehow figured it out. He's going to make a special stock. He doesn't normally do this. Like he doesn't do it for anyone, but for you guys, because you've been good, he's going to come early this year. And so he would come early and do the presents. And it was always a trimmed down version because once we started going wide, the costs associated with that was kind of part of the Christmas gift was to go to Hawaii, which was amazing. And then we had routines when we were there. And the one thing that we typically would do is we would go body surfing on Christmas Day. And that was just because our place was walking distance to the ocean, and that was fun. And ironically, I was just talking to my brother about one year, it was so stormy on Christmas Day. My dad and my uncle were like, oh, we're still going. And I remember my mom was kind of like, are you sure this is safe? Oh, it's totally good. And this is how my dad operated. We're fine. The waves were massive. And I remember going out there and it was a constant washing machine. We were getting tumbled. and slammed into the sand so hard. And everybody would get up and be like, "You all right?" And be like, "Yeah, I'm just a little dizzy, but I'm okay. Let's just go again." And in today's day and age, that would be considered child abuse. I mean, it was so violently crazy, but that was part of the upbringing in my household. Like, let's just go for it. And then we would have the fun part of the ending of the day was we would have Christmas dinner together with my uncle's family and my parents and my siblings. And my grandma used to actually come with us a lot too. And we would go to a local hotel that did this beautiful Christmas buffet, but it was always sold out. So how we got around that is my uncle would call and he'd be like, "This is Dr. Drever, and I'm just trying to get my family in for the buffet this evening, but I've got this very important surgery later that I have to perform. So is there any chance you can get us in around 5:30?" Every year it worked.
Was your uncle a doctor?
No. He was into real estate. So he somehow pulled it off every year. And we'd have like 20 people. I mean, it wouldn't be a small endeavor, but it was super fun. But the place was hilarious when I look back at it because it was a little one bedroom, I guess probably no more than 500 or 600 square feet. And we would make it work. When my grandmother would come, she would stay in the bedroom. It was a king bed. My parents, I think, would sleep on the floor in there, or we would, as kids, would sleep on the floor, and we had a pull-out couch. So we had 6 people just kind of crammed in. And I can look back on that. There was never a problem with any of it.
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It was, we're just going to have fun because my parents were always very, let's get outside. And inside is where we're going to sleep. But other than that, we're going to just go enjoy the outside. So from a tradition standpoint, that's what I experienced a lot as a kid.
So I got a question for you, given that you spent Christmas in Hawaii for a number of years. Can you celebrate Christmas in a warm environment? So I grew up in, it was always cold for Christmas. That's what I associate Christmas with. We live in the mountains. Having Christmas that is a cold Christmas. Are you able to get your head around a hot Christmas? Because we've traveled for Christmas and been in the tropics, and it never feels like Christmas. There's lights on palm trees. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I think that was the selling point for my parents. I think they're like, "Oh no, we're going to have Christmas before Christmas because we're in a place that you have Christmas." What is some of the things that you just really enjoy during the holidays?
Number of things. I would say the start of Christmas music. So when you start hearing Christmas music, no matter when it is, even if I start hearing it in October, I know our Costco has Christmas decorations up in October. One of the kind of really first songs of Christmas, I get excited for that. One of the things we started doing if we're in town is we actually ski to go get our Christmas tree. So we hike through the woods with our skis on, cut down a tree in the woods, and then I carry it out skiing downhill with Tara and I and the dog, and we come home and decorate it that afternoon. So there's some of the new things that we started doing. So it's all the way from first Christmas music till taking down the tree and actually throwing it in the community bonfire for 6th Night. I think it's 6th Night. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
The community bonfire that happens in January here in our town, every little thing along the way. So Christmas music starts at our house in November. Actually, the day after Halloween is when we start playing Christmas music, and then it runs all the way through till just after the first of the year.
I'm with you right there. Like, I start the Christmas music. It usually for me is I have the Sirius XM in my car, and so I turn on the Holly station. That's like the warm up. And then once we get into the Thanksgiving time frame, you start seeing all the lights. And one thing that's spectacular where we live in the mountains, being near nice ski resorts, is they do such a good job with the lighting. And so you go in there and it's just so magical. So we try to do that a little bit. And then I like the movie side of things as well. So I start watching movies. Sometimes I think I've narrowed it down to like the final 10 days. I try to get one every night. But the challenge is I used to do it with my kids and they're just so over it. And so I'm the only one who watches the movies. The traditional movie that we do Christmas Eve is Polar Express. Still love it. So that's a good one. Elf is kind of the same thing. I like to kick off the holidays with Elf because it's just so funny. One of the things that I did learn about Christmas Vacation is that I was so excited to watch it with my kids. And at the time, I introduced them to probably they were like 6 and 9, not 100% appropriate for little kids. Few situations where I'm like, okay, hopefully they're just not paying attention. So that is something learned. But then the sledding, when he puts the super slippery spray on the
cereal coating. It was cereal coating.
Yeah.
The polymer.
That is something we always like. We should replicate that. That looks amazing.
And you got a great hill outside your house for that,
we
too.
Sure do. We sure
All right,
do.
so what are your movies then? What's on your list of movies?
I mentioned Polar Express. I mentioned Elf. I like the Santa Claus movies with Tim Allen.
Okay.
Those are always pretty good, fun ones. I do go back to this nostalgia side of watching Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Frosty the Snowman. I do like some of the newer ones. That there's the one with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds. That one's pretty funny.
Oh, that new one that came out just like 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yep. Eddie Murphy had one that came out, was pretty good. So I like to mix and match it. But then I like to go back. I do watch The Christmas Story, Miracle on 34th Street, I believe that one.
It is, yeah.
I watch those. So I watch all of them to kind of give a different, but they just rope me in. I love it. I mean, I just turn on the Hallmark Channel. I'm softy that way. I just love watching the movies and just being a part of it and just staring off into space and, just being a part of the whole experience. And one tradition I actually want to say that's stuck around outside of movies for me, and it just rings a bell with me, is my grandmother had this really good recipe for sticky buns or cinnamon rolls. And she started making those probably for me, when I was born. It was always a family tradition. It was the night before Christmas. Those were made, and then we'd have them Christmas morning. So then my mother carried on that tradition. And then when my mother passed away several years ago, I actually found the recipe box. And this recipe is probably almost 100 years old now. And so I do that every Christmas Eve. Have you tried them before?
Oh, they are fantastic. I'm definitely looking forward to getting, half dozen, a dozen of those this Christmas. Yes. As I typically get one or two. Maybe I can sneak a couple more from the house this year. Those are fantastic.
But the weird thing about that recipe is at high elevations, I have a difficult time getting the dough to rise. I kid you not, every year I am up till midnight trying to get it done. I just can't get it to rise. And then I try different techniques. I've only been doing it for 10 years, Rob, so I'm a slow learner. But it's so fun to do. And my youngest son and I were just talking recently that should we do a batch over Thanksgiving just to start it out? And we're both, oh, you betcha.
A sample batch. Do a sample batch over Thanksgiving.
Just to make sure we remember how to do it.
So I got a controversial question for you then. We were talking about movies. And I know, and maybe we'll ask our listeners to chime in on our social media pages for this one. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie to you?
Last year, I Googled the top, 20 Christmas movies, and it showed up. And I was like, I don't see it. I'm like,
You don't?
I see the time of year. It just takes place the same time of year, but I wouldn't say it's centered around Christmas. But I don't know. Yeah, obviously you do.
It is for me, just because it's the only violent Christmas movie I watch. I did, a couple years ago, I did take Kara down obscurity lane with some old Christmas movies I remember as a kid. So you mentioned some of the most common ones. I don't think I'll get her to watch these two ever again. One of them it was an old Hallmark movie, was The Night They Saved Christmas. And it was a bunch of kids. Christmas was not going to happen that year, and some kids got to the North Pole, and they saved Christmas that year. If you go back and watch that, there's some old celebrities. I couldn't name any of them right now, but there's some old celebrities in it. The other one, and this is totally out of obscurity. I don't even know why I remember the name of this. Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas Special. It's an old Muppet movie, and we were watching it from my iPad in the van on a trip. And I said, we got to watch this. I can't believe I found it. It's Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. And it was not like I remembered it. A little disappointing.
That's the hard part. There's some of those that I watch, I'm like, not very good, but it wasn't intended for a 50-year-old man.
No, not at all.
It was intended for much, much, much younger.
And it fit the time. It was in the 80s, so you could have gotten away with stuff like that.
Absolutely. How about your favorite Christmas gift as a kid that you can remember?
This is an easy one. I got a pair of Atomic skis for Christmas one year. They were the red Atomic, so they came out, I think, the year prior. I've been begging my parents for a new set of skis for an entire year. My brother and I had identical skis, so I was the oldest. My brother is only 18 months behind me in age, something like that. So a lot of the gifts we got were the same gift, just in slightly different sizes. And this was the first year I had skis that did not match my brother's skis. And they were a pair of bright red Atomic. They had like glitter in the skis, so they were really flashy Atomic skis. And I remember getting them as a gift. They were hidden behind the tree. So similar to back, you mentioned the Christmas story with the Red Ryder BB gun was hiding behind the tree. Open up all the gifts. I'm a little disappointed because I don't get the skis that I want. And my dad's like, "Hey, what's that over there, Rob? You missed one." And there was this bright red pair of skis hiding, buried in behind the Christmas tree where I would have never seen them. So that's the epitome of a gift for me.
I remember those skis, actually. Those are like a hot pair of skis.
They were the skis to have.
They were these skis.
What about you? What was your gift that you received or you gave, or what brings back the best memory for you there?
I think I must have been around 12 years old. And I was really into riding BMX bikes at the time. And I wanted this one bike, and I think it was a Hutch bike, and it was just pure chrome, and the forks were pure chrome. And so what my parents did is they bought me the frame and fork, and my birthday is in February. So then they knew that they would probably could give me components for my birthday. And so I got to build the bike. And that was actually really fun for me as a kid, is I got the main components for Christmas, and then with Christmas money or money from grandma or whatever, I got to, buy the pedals and buy the cranks and tires and all that kind of stuff. So that was a really fun one that just kept on giving. Like, I loved that bike so much. I had it up until I was about, I think, 30 years old, and I just kept on bringing it with me. And I finally gave it away. It was so small. Like, I got it when I was 12. So I loved that bike so much. And the pride of building it from ground up was just part of the whole thing. And I was one of those kids that I would get all the BMX catalogs and bikes and look at all the parts and do all my research and all the mailer type stuff. And I just loved it. So that was super fun for me.
So we've done some looking back, Brent. Let's look now. What does Christmas mean to you now? What do the holidays mean to you now? And what moments or feelings do you get excited about this time of year?
I look forward to Christmas this year for a really important reason for me, and I'll get emotional most likely in this, or I can already start to feel it, is my oldest son is a junior in college, and he is not going to come home for Thanksgiving. And so this is the first time he's like, "Hey, I want to hang out with my friends," and he's going to do a Friendsgiving type thing for Thanksgiving. And so it's a very empty feeling for us in the household. Now, we still have my younger one, but it's just, once there were 4, now they're 3. And so he's coming home for Christmas. And that is something that I just really look forward to, just to have the whole family together. And one of the traditions that I've done, my father passed away well over 20 years ago. And one tradition I always do, and it feels really holiday centric to me, is his birthday is on December 15th. And I ski every year. You've been with me. Ski every year on December 15th, rain or shine. Like, it could be crappy conditions, I will still go on the mountain because my father liked to ski so much. But it's part of I rope it into the holidays because it's always 10 days before Christmas. And I feel that nostalgia. So that's something I really look forward to. And I love today's day and age. I just love being in the nostalgia world. I love looking back as a kid. As you were saying, you look back at the ornaments, and it's one of those things where I see all the ornaments from when I was a kid, when my kids were young. It just is really fun for me. So that's part of it. And I just hope that there's just this whole ski season just has a lot of snow. That's what I want for Christmas. That's all I care about. I want to ski a lot. How about yourself?
For me, it's the people, whether it be friends or family. As you mentioned, we're going to be spending Christmas Day with you, which I know we've done a handful of times. Of course, it'll be after we go skiing in the morning, because Christmas morning is the best morning to go skiing. No one's on the hill until about noon, so we get the whole mountain, at least it feels like it, to ourselves. So it's people. I go back to the people, friends and family, people that we love. And really that season starts for us around Thanksgiving. And so either we're with family or with a really close set of friends. This year they live in Arizona, and I have a not matching, it's a totally different looking Thanksgiving suit that I wear for that holiday. We started doing that a couple of years ago, dressing up for the holiday when we'd have Thanksgiving together. I showed up at one time with a big bow tie on and a nice pair of pants and jacket. But the holidays really have gotten a place to us. And I'm guessing for most of our listeners, it's about the people we spend the time with. It's not about the gift. It is. I love the memories, but the memories are less about the experience and more about the people that we were with during that period of time in our lives. So now it's really how do we spend time and really devote quality time with the people that we love.
Absolutely. And that's a good way to wrap up our conversation today. I feel holidays are really fun to get together with people, as you just described. It's fun to go down that memory lane. And what did you experience as a kid? What did you experience as a young adult? What do you experience now in your midlife? Some of my friends now have grandchildren, and so they have that new energy that comes into play, which is a ton of fun. So follow those traditions, have a blast, be safe as always, and just enjoy the holidays. So thanks for spending your holidays with us. And both Rob and I just want to wish you a happy holidays, and we'll see you soon.
That's it for this episode of Midlife Circus. Visit midlifecircus.fm for show notes, transcripts, and all the latest happenings. And while you're there, sign up for our newsletter on Substack. Follow Midlife Circus on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss your next great act. Quick reminder, the opinions and stories shared here are personal reflections, not professional advice. This show is for entertainment and inspiration only. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you under the big top next time. Midlife Circus is a Burning Matches media production.
Welcome to the Midlife Circus. Buckle up, we're flipping the script. Cue the drums, hear the crowds cheer. Your next great act starts right here.